Welcome to the Heartbreak Chronicles, where every story is a raw reflection of life. Hit that subscribe button to stay tuned, give us a like to show your support, and share this episode with your friends. Don't forget to leave a comment and let us know what you think. Now, let's dive into today's story. My name is Ethan. Rebecca is my wife, and we've been married for 18 years. We're both 40, and we've been together since we were 14. We've never dated anyone but each other. We were middle and high school sweethearts. I'm the quarterback of the football team, and Rebecca's a cheerleader. We're the perfect couple. We got married right after high school. We live in a medium-sized town in Central California, near Silicon Valley. I got a job as a software engineer at a tech startup. Rebecca became a kindergarten teacher. We soon had several children. Rebecca is the most beautiful woman you've ever seen. She's tall, about 5 feet 9 inches. I loved her long, slender legs, especially the way she wrapped them around my waist. Rebecca and I became close in our sophomore year of high school. We were awkward at first, but we soon learned how to please each other in every way. We had 2 children over the next 3 years. Rebecca had trouble delivering her second child, so we decided to stop. I had a vasectomy, so we wouldn't have to worry. Now I don't want to brag, but I'm really good at flirting. I saw Rebecca's eyes roll to the back of her head as she climaxed. She'll scream. Of course, she did the same for me. Even after all these years we've been together, we still do. It makes it hard to understand why she would betray me. After our children entered middle school, Rebecca decided she wanted a full-time job. She went to a community college to study to become an administrative assistant. She then landed a job at a local tech company specializing in artificial intelligence and machine learning. A few years before that, I started my own company. It is a startup focused on developing smart home devices. Silicon Valley is very competitive, but soon my business took off. I started making a lot of money. So we moved out of our apartment and bought a beautiful house in a very nice neighborhood in Palo Alto. We're doing well financially, and Rebecca really enjoys her job. My business requires me to travel a lot as my company has clients and partners all over the country. I told you I was having a good time. I've never really worried about Rebecca when I've traveled, and she worships the ground I walk on, but I guess she has an itch that needs scratching. 3 months ago, Rebecca's company hired this man, about 32 years old, fresh out of business school at Stanford. He was young, very handsome, but married with a young child. His name is Alexander Mitchell. Rebecca goes on and on about how smart and nice he is. I met him at the company Christmas party. Last month, I could feel he thought he didn't stink. He treated me like a vulgar programmer. Honestly, I could buy him and sell him in the blink of an eye. Rebecca's been drinking, and she's been by his side all night. She danced with him several times. I could sense his wife wasn't happy either. I still think Rebecca just got drunk and let it go. Besides, when we got home, Rebecca jumped me. She was so excited. I could hardly keep up, but of course I did. I asked her if she was interested in this young executive. She just laughed and told me I was crazy. She said the only man she was interested in was me. She said, "Ethan, you're the only man I've ever had and the only man I've ever needed. Besides, I know you'd never betray me, and you won't stand for it." About 2 weeks ago, while I was at a conference out of town, I got a call from the office. "Ethan, it's Kevin. I'm down the street from your house, and there's a fancy Tesla parked near your house." "You didn't buy a Tesla, did you, Ethan?" "Hell, no, Kevin. When have you ever seen me drive anything but a fucking hybrid Prius?" "No, I hadn't thought of that, Ethan. That car looked like it was in your neighborhood. If Rebecca had a friend visiting, why would she let her park in the back? Looks a little suspicious, Ethan," Kevin said. "Kevin, what color is that car?" "It's red, Ethan." "Wait, I think I remember that new executive leaving the party in a red car." "Kevin, I want you to park where you won't be seen. See if a man comes out of my house to that car, and call me if you find anything." Kevin complied, and I instructed him to use a pair of binoculars so he could see out my back door. About 45 minutes later, Kevin called back. "Ethan, I hate to tell you this, but a hip-looking young man came out the back door of your house. I can see Rebecca standing in the door. Ethan, she's wearing her bathrobe, it's afternoon. If she cheats on me with that little shit, she'll rue the day she was born, and he won't be much better off when I'm done with him." You can't stay with Ethan. The next day I came home and drove to San Francisco to a high-end electronics store. A friend told me about this store. I must have their evidence before I take any action. I bought a bedroom spy cam, and it looks like a smart alarm clock. Rebecca probably won't notice it. It is motion activated. I also bought some software that allowed me to listen in on her cell phone. When her cell phone rings or she calls, I can hear it on mine. I don't know how it works and I don't care. I just want to know what she's doing. As soon as someone walks in, the cameras record anything in the room, and if they do it again, I'll have their evidence. I went home that night and decided to see if Rebecca would succumb to my temptations, not because I wanted to do it again, but because I just wanted to see her reaction. She said she was too tired to be in the mood. I think I've got the answer. On Sunday night, I announced that I would be traveling for a few more days. She acted disappointed, but I don't think it was sincere. I kissed her and left the next morning. As soon as I left, she called Alexander, and she told him I was traveling again. He told her they would meet in the afternoon. He'll stop on the street again. As much as I hate it, I have to let them do it. I need proof. I'm beginning to realize that my marriage may be over. I did go to a Silicon Valley branch about 100 miles away and then spent the night in a luxury hotel. I was drunk that night and I found myself crying too as I tried to fall asleep. The next day, I went home, and while Rebecca was still at work, I checked my recording device to see what it had recorded. I hoped for the best, but expected the worst. I downloaded the recording to my laptop. The recording shows Alexander and Rebecca in my bed. The quality of the video clearly identifies both of them. I don't think Alexander is as good as I am, but she seems to like it. It's obvious now that my marriage is over, but before I get a little revenge, I can hear them talking while they are getting dressed. Rebecca, you're a real piece of work. I wish my wife could be like you. She won't even give me those moves. Alexander said. Thanks, Alexander. You're good too? Rebecca said. Yeah, I gave you a good one, baby. I bet it's better than that dorky husband of yours. Alexander said. Now, Alexander, don't you say anything else about Ethan. I love Ethan with all my heart. He's a damn good lover. He's a good husband, a good father, and makes me so happy. She said. Then why did you agree to let me into your bedroom? Alexander said. Ethan and I got together when we were 14. I was 18 when I was with him, and I've never been with anyone but Ethan. I guess I'm just curious, Alexander, that you're so charming and considerate of me and mine. I think I'm just a little itchy, and I want you to scratch me. You're well-educated and refined. I'd like to see what that feels like. And you're 8 years younger than me, but you still find me attractive and sexy. She said. Well, you're a sexy woman, Rebecca. How long will we continue like this even though you're older than me? He said. I know one thing Ethan can never find out. If he finds out, he'll destroy us both. So I guess this will be the last time. She said. Come on, Rebecca. One more time. We'll do it one last time, when he's gone again, and then we'll never do it again. The itch was scratched and I'll never ask for it again. Unless, of course, you ask me. Remember, I'm married too, and I know my wife would sue me into oblivion if she found out. Alexander said. I don't know, Alexander. I hate to take risks for too long, but I guess a final goodbye is okay. I'm sure Ethan's leaving again later this week, so if he's gone, let's get this one right. She said. They left the room and the camera was turned off. So it's just an itch that needs scratching. They don't love each other or anything. It's just a matter of greed. I've had a few itches over the years, but I've never thought to scratch them. They're about to find out you can't be with Ethan. I went back to my office and waited for a couple of my coworkers to come in. I need some help with this, and I have an idea that surprises even myself. I called Kevin and asked him to bring Tyler and Marcus and meet me at the office. These were 3 tall programmers, Marcus being the tallest at about 6 feet 4 inches tall and weighing about 280 pounds. They are also very loyal to me and would do anything for me. When they arrived, I sat them down and explained everything. They couldn't believe Rebecca would do that to me. After I told them about the video, they all jumped up and down and said they wanted to see it. You just want to see Rebecca naked. Just take my word for it. She did something she shouldn't have with that fancy executive, and will soon wish she hadn't. Boys will be boys, I guess. After explaining what I wanted them to do, they left, laughing about how much fun it was going to be. I did my best to act like my usual self that night. I even moved on Rebecca. I just wanted to see her reaction, like last time. She said she wasn't in the mood and she was probably worried that I would notice things. I told her I had to leave and come back tomorrow night. She just shrugged and said okay. The next day, I drove to Palo Alto to meet with the attorney, whom I knew. We drew up divorce papers and prepared the lawsuit that I was going to file against Rebecca's employer. His representative will be with us the next day when we surprise Rebecca and Alexander. Everything is ready for us to see if they have that one last sneak peek. I was quiet that night. I guess I feel sad about the end of my marriage. Rebecca even asked me if something was wrong. I just told her I wasn't feeling well, so I turned around and fell asleep. This leads me to where I started this story. Everything was ready. Kevin and Tyler were in my car, Kevin with the rope, duct tape, and 2 sturdy chairs, just as I had instructed. Marcus carries huge drones in company trucks and trailers. Marcus is an awesome drone operator. I drove through the streets to make sure Alexander was there. Sure enough, his Tesla was parked near my house. I instructed Marcus to park on the street and fly his drone over to Alexander's car. He should have parked the drone in place and waited for my signal. I drove back to my front door, but didn't park directly in front of it. I got out of the car and Kevin and Tyler followed us with chairs, rope, and duct tape. When we got to the front door, I called Marcus and told him to go ahead with his plan while we went inside. Marcus uses his drone to move Alexander's Tesla to the public pool at the end of the block. It has a door just big enough for the drone to pass through. Marcus used his remote to open the door and put Alexander's car in the pool. Meanwhile, we went upstairs to my bedroom. As we approached, we could hear voices coming from the room. As I peered through the half-open door, I saw Rebecca riding Alexander, cowboy style. I happened to run into them just as they were in the process. I signaled Kevin and Tyler to grab Alexander first, and they were supposed to tie him to a chair and tape his mouth shut. With Alexander immobilized, Rebecca is next. We rushed into the room, yelling. Rebecca screams, "Ethan!" "Oh God. No, Ethan. I can explain, Ethan. I'm really sorry. Please don't hurt Alexander." They tied Alexander up as I instructed, and then they tied Rebecca to another chair, but did not gag her. I knew they were staring at my naked wife, but so what? She would soon no longer be my wife. They took Alexander to the back of my car, put him in the cargo box of the car, and then they secured his chair to the back of the wagon. I pulled up a chair and sat down in front of Rebecca, who was crying and kept saying, "Ethan, I'm really sorry. I did a stupid thing. I'm really sorry. Rebecca, I just want to know why. I'm a terrible husband. I'm a terrible lover. Why would you do this to me, to us, to our family?" I asked, tears rolling down my cheeks. "Ethan, I know this looks bad, but I still love you so much. Alexander was just a short-lived pleasure that meant nothing. It was the last time we'd ever be together, I swear. I was just curious as to what someone like him would feel like in bed. He makes me feel good about myself, but he's nowhere near as good of a lover as you are," Rebecca said as she cried. "It may be a small thing to you, Rebecca, but you hurt me deeply, and we've been together for a long time. And you have to go and ruin everything for a small pleasure," I said. "No, Ethan, you must forgive me. I would have done anything, just an itch that needed scratching. I'm sorry you found out. I never meant to hurt you," she said. "Rebecca, I've had the occasional itch that I didn't scratch. I've been loyal to you. I've worshipped the ground you walk on, and then you go off and find a younger, oily executive in our own bed. I'm sorry, Rebecca, but it's unforgivable," I said as I saw Kevin and Tyler waiting outside the door. Rebecca was still crying and begging me for mercy when I put the tape over her mouth. We took her downstairs and put her in the back of the car, next to Alexander. I secured her to the back of the wagon and looked at Alexander. I could feel him scared to death, tears rolling down his face from fear. I said to both of them, "You're about to experience some of the humiliation I'm feeling right now, and I don't know if you've read or seen the movie Gossip Girl, but you're about to experience it firsthand." I looked straight at Alexander and said, "You should know better than anyone else not to touch another man's wife, and I don't think you'll ever do it again after today." I put an electronic tag around each of their necks that scrolled through the text. Alexander's tag says, "I cheated on my wife," and Rebecca's tag says, "I cheated on my husband." I put a large LED display on both sides of the car that scrolls "Adulterer" in red. We drove downtown, and as we drove around, I started honking and people were pointing. Some looked scared, some were laughing, some were disgusted by the show. We stopped in front of the office building of the tech company where Alexander and Rebecca worked. I honked the horn until several people, including the CEO, walked out. I got out of the car and walked toward him. I thought you might want to see what your two employees were doing on their lunch breaks this afternoon. Meanwhile, the representative from the law firm I hired walked over and handed him my lawsuit, and then he walked over and handed Rebecca the divorce papers. Of course, she was tied up, so I untied one of her arms so she could take it. Then I tied it up again and told Rebecca that I would hold them until we got to her parents' house. She kept shaking her head, trying to get me to let her go. The CEO walked up to Alexander and Rebecca and yelled, "You're fired." Then we drove to Alexander's house. You should have seen the look on his face when he saw us drive in. I got out of the car, walked to the door, and when his wife Olivia opened it, I explained everything and handed her a copy of the video. She has a young child behind her and I really sympathize with her, but she needs to see what kind of person her husband is. Kevin and Tyler pulled him out of the car and put him in the yard. Olivia walks over, tears in her eyes, and slaps him. She gives Rebecca a very dismissive look and walks into the house. Just before she walked into the house, I told her, "I think Alexander's car lost control in the pool at the end of the block and rolled in." Alexander was still sitting there when we drove away. We took Rebecca, still in the back of the car, and drove to her parents' house. I walked to the door, but Michael and Sarah were already standing there. I explained the whole situation and offered them video evidence if they wanted it. I made sure they knew I wasn't kidding and that Rebecca was at fault. They looked at their daughters and then just shook their heads. Michael says, "Ethan, we are so sorry our daughter did this to you. You have been a wonderful husband to her and a wonderful son-in-law to us. Is it possible for you to forgive Rebecca? I know she still loves you." "I'm sorry, Michael. I can't possibly trust her anymore. I did my best to be the best husband she could find, and this is how she repaid me. I saw her and Alexander having sex on video in our own bed, and then I caught them red-handed in our own bed." "No, I can never forgive," I said. Sarah said, "We understand, Ethan. I don't think we blame you." I untied Rebecca and took her to her parents. I ripped the tape from her mouth. She said, "Please, Ethan. I'm really sorry and I promise I'll never do anything like that again." I realize now how stupid and pointless I was. He's not as good a lover as you are, and I'll do anything if you give me a chance. She kept pleading, and she did look lovely, standing there naked, begging me to take her back. I almost gave in, but then remembered you can't be with Ethan. "I'm sorry, Rebecca. I can't do it. I'm leaving you here with your parents. You can take all your stuff from the house tomorrow while I'm at work. I'll be in touch about the divorce. I'll split everything with you, but I'm leaving all my business behind. Don't try to argue anything, or that video will go viral." I left Rebecca with her parents, and she accepted everything in the divorce petition. I left the house and Rebecca is staying with her parents. I guess I was hard on her, but she made a big mistake and paid for it. I ended up dropping the lawsuit against her employer. I just didn't want to get entangled with it. I mostly wanted to prove a point. After 6 months, I was really starting to miss Rebecca. I've gotten over all the anger and humiliation. I haven't really dated anyone, and I'm really not interested. I've only had a couple of dates while I was away on business, and it was only a one-night dance. Sarah called me and wanted to have lunch with me and talk. I agreed because I wanted to get to know Rebecca. I hadn't talked to her in a long time, and when I did, all she wanted to do was apologize. Sarah told me that Rebecca was still living with them and that she had gotten a new job at a nearby startup with 2 co-founders who needed a good product manager. She loves her new job. Sarah told me that Rebecca refused to even date anyone and that she kept getting asked out, but she turned them all down. She still hopes that someday I'll want her back. I told Sarah how much I missed Rebecca and how I had forgiven her. It took me a long time to come to terms with it all. I told her, "Now, Sarah, I'm not promising anything, but I'd like to call Rebecca and maybe have a cup of coffee with her or something." I never really gave her much of a chance to talk after I caught them. I was just so angry and hurt by what she did. "Ethan, that would be great, if you could sit down with her and hear what she wants to tell you." She then knew she had made a big mistake and paid for it, Sarah said. "Well, Sarah, I think I can finally sit down and hear her out." "I'll call her," I said. I called Rebecca that night and agreed to meet tomorrow at a local cafe we frequent. Rebecca was excited, and Sarah called me later in the evening to thank me and tell me how excited Rebecca was to finally meet me. I arrived early, ordered myself a latte, and found a quiet corner. I froze when I saw Rebecca walk in. She looks great. She dresses beautifully. She has lost some weight and grown her hair long, just like she did in high school. Everyone in the cafe turned to stare at her. As I walked over to greet her, "Hello, Rebecca. I must say you look so beautiful. It's so good to see you." I gave her a hug, and she held me for about 10 seconds, her arms around my neck. She spoke with tears in her eyes. "It's so good to see you, Ethan. You look great too. I can't tell you how excited I am about you calling." We chatted for a few minutes, and then Rebecca said, "Ethan, these past few months I've been trying to figure out why I did what I did. I have no excuses, and I accept responsibility for what I did. You have no idea how many nights I've cried over the pain and humiliation I've caused our family and the loss of the man I loved most. I don't have feelings for Alexander, and yes, he's very talkative, and he tells me all the things I love to hear. I believe he manipulated me in a way I could never understand." She was crying now, so she paused to take a packet of tissues out of her handbag. She continued, "Ethan, I love you more than anything in the world, and I would give anything to turn back time. I know the kids were very angry with me at first, but they quickly realized how much I regretted my mistake and forgave me. I think what I need most is to hear you say that you can forgive me. If you can do that, I'll step aside and let you get on with your life." "You're right, Rebecca," I said. "I'm humiliated and I'm deeply hurt by what you've done. It's hard to watch the woman you've loved for so long be with another man. I'm mad at you too, and this is how I'm going to punish you both. I apologize for that. It may have been a bit much." I took a sip of my coffee and continued, "I've finally been able to come to terms with it all and realize that I can forgive you. I still love you, but I can never trust you again. I can still see you with that guy in my nightmares." She was still crying and held my hand. I took her hand and told her, "I really wanted to get back together with you, but that was in another time. I want you to stay loyal to me." Tears were now streaming from my eyes. I stood up and walked to the door. As I walked to the door, I turned around to see her looking at me with tears in her eyes. I raised my hand and waved goodbye. "It's so hard. My heart aches. It feels like I have knives sticking out of my heart, but I have to do it." I hope she learned her lesson, but most importantly, she learned that you can't be with Ethan. I walked out of the cafe and took a deep breath. The Silicon Valley sun shone warmly on my face, but I still felt a chill inside. I know I made the right decision, but that doesn't mean it doesn't hurt. Over the next few weeks, I buried myself in work. My company is developing a revolutionary AI home assistant, and I'm putting all my energy into this project. Worked late every day and weekends. My coworkers noticed the change in me, but they had the good sense not to ask more questions. One night, while I was debugging code in my office, my cell phone rang. "It's my son, Jack." "Dad," he said, a hint of worry in his voice, "are you okay? We haven't seen you in weeks." I realized then that in dealing with my own pain, I had neglected the most important people, my children. "I'm sorry, Jack," I said, guilt in my voice. "Dad's been so busy with work lately." "You're right. We should get together. How about this weekend? We can go play baseball." "Great," Jack said excitedly. "I'll tell Emma." After hanging up the phone, I realized that life must go on. Yes, Rebecca hurt me, but I can't let that hurt ruin my other relationships, especially with my children. When the weekend came, I took Jack and Emma to the neighborhood baseball field. Watching them laugh and chase each other, I felt a long-lost warmth rise in my heart. We ate ice cream together and talked a lot about school and friends. That night, I lay in bed and thought back over everything that had happened in the past few months. I remembered Rebecca's pleading eyes, the good times we'd shared, and the pain of her betrayal. I realized that forgiving doesn't mean forgetting or necessarily starting over. Sometimes, forgiveness is just about being able to move forward. I've forgiven Rebecca, not for her, but for myself and for our children. The next morning, I decided to send Rebecca a text. We may not be able to go back to the way things were, but we can try to be better friends and parents. The kids need us to stick together. Would you like to have dinner with us next week? A few minutes later, I received a reply from her. "Thank you, Ethan. It means a lot to me. I'd be happy to." Putting my phone down, I felt a sense of relief. Life will go on and wounds will heal. We may no longer be a couple, but we will always be a family. On my way to the office, I saw a young couple kissing on a street corner. I can't help but smile and hope they never have to go through the pain I went through. But if they do have a setback, I hope they can learn to forgive, to let go, and to start over, just like I did. Because in this Silicon Valley of innovation and opportunity, in this ever-changing world of technology, the only constant is the love and forgiveness in humanity. I, Ethan Jackson Davis, have experienced betrayal, attempted revenge, and ultimately chosen forgiveness. It's not weakness, it's strength. This is not the end, but a new beginning. When I walked into the office, ready to start a new day, I knew I was out of the gloom. I may have lost a wife, but I got myself back. In a world of algorithms and data, I rediscovered the most complex and beautiful program of all, the human heart. Life, like code, sometimes needs debugging, sometimes rewriting. But at the end of the day, it's important to make it work and create something beautiful. I'm ready for the next version update in my life. Because now I know that no matter what bug I encounter, I have the power to fix it and make the program, my life, better and stronger. Thank you for taking the time to listen to today's story. If you enjoyed it, please like and subscribe if you haven't already. If you have a story to share about your own or someone else's experience, please feel free to contact me. Take care.